doing? Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happy. I'm your host, Marty Jalove. We come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clearer, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any part of today's episode, just tune in to the podcast, which is Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. As I am every Monday, I'm on a quest to bring you the best guest I can find, and she's cracking me up over here. It's my good friend Mary Shep, and she is like having such a difficult time with headphones over here.
No, it's not the headphones; it's the volume.
I'm sorry. So what set are you on? Do you have any idea? That's cool, because I could probably turn down the volume. You know what? I'll turn it down over here. How's that? Is that a little bit better?
That's better.
All right, good. Then we'll just live with that. We'll see what's going on. Somewhere it's working correctly. All right. So Mary, thank you so very much for coming out here. And I'm looking here in my notes. I didn't grab all my right notes here. I'm going to be okay. You know, it seems like it's only been my fourth season doing this. You would think I would be a little more organized by now, but no chance at all. So Mary, as we get started, why don't you tell the world who you are? I've been introducing you mostly as a master networker, you know, the person everybody needs to know to get things done, to connect with everyone in the world. I said, if you need to know anyone in Lake County, anywhere in Lake County and anywhere in McHenry, let's even open it up to anywhere in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. If you need to know anyone, you need to know Mary. She will connect you with them. Okay.
I feel like that might be a slight exaggeration.
No, not at all.
Just maybe a little bit of an exaggeration.
Okay.
Who am I today? Mary with Brightway Insurance.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'm an insurance agent, and apparently a networking extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Marty.
That's right. And I wouldn't lie.
I'm gonna put this on my resume.
Yeah. There you go.
So that's me in a nutshell. Mary, just jack of all trades, master of nothing. Is that what they say?
Yeah. No. Master of like one. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. No, but that's, you know what? But I'll tell you, you know, the rest of that saying, right? It's a jack of all trades, master of none is often better than a master of one. So see, you got it going on, Mary. You're the person to know. Okay.
It's just purely out of necessity. It's what happens when you have to learn a lot of things and figure stuff out when you kind of go on the fly.
Yeah, but you know what? You could also just give up. You could just say, I don't want to, I don't need to know anyone. I want to live in my home and watch Netflix all day. Nothing against Netflix. I watch that all night.
I was going to say, as my husband and I binge Netflix on a regular basis. I'd have to agree. I mean, the give up thing though, that's an option. And
it's sad. It is an option, but it's a terrible option.
Some people don't choose. I can't, it's one of those things where you just don't contemplate. It's like having a different perspective. Somebody would never think to do something a certain way,
right?
Whether it's, I don't know, play baseball. If you wouldn't think to play baseball a certain way or do something.
I mean, you got to get closer to the mic every once in a while. You're fading away. You're dancing away from the mic. You're moving away.
I'm going to eat the mic.
There you go. Now that's it. Now that there's that sexy voice.
That's also an exaggeration because I would not say that one. But no, it's one of those things that as a choice, if you're the kind of person who doesn't give up or doesn't see failure, that doesn't see failure as an option, it doesn't cross my mind. It's
good.
Through everything that I've ever been through. When people ask me how I do what I do or why I do what I do, that it never even crossed my mind that, well, this is it. We're done.
That's one of the things you and I have in common. That's one of the things I really liked about you the first time I met you, is you're that type of person. In fact, so much I liked you so much that the people I find that, or I say that I really like, are the people that I'm a little jealous of.
Ooh.
Okay. That I sit here and I go, she's doing that better than I am. Right. So I get a little upset, a little jealous. And so I have to like curb my ego a little and say, okay, all right, use this person, befriend this person, copy them, and then destroy them. Okay.
No. What is that? The imitation is the best form of flattery.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's right. So this is cool. I like this path we're going down already, because this is going to fit in a lot of what we're talking about. And so for those of you who are just tuning in, wondering what it is that you're tuned into, so this is Bacon Bits. And what we do is we talk a little bit about two subjects. First off, I have these amazing guests, none as amazing as Mary here. Okay. And it is, by the way, Mary Shep, not Mary Schwepp, like I usually introduce her. Okay. She's Mary with the silent W.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway, so what we do is the first half of the show, we're going to talk a little about what Mary does, what her power is, how she just goes out and attacks the world, how she says, even when it's those things inside her saying, maybe don't do this, there's still something inside her that's pushing her forward, wanting to do more. And she really is somebody that you should meet and just talk with and find out the power that's in her, that idea of saying, yes, I can do that. Okay. Or better yet, it's probably, well, no one told me I couldn't do that. Okay. And
it's weird to hear anytime someone says any of those things.
Yeah.
Like I'm proud of myself for those things,
Yeah.
but it's still ultimately the weirdest thing on the face of the planet. What do you say? Like, thanks.
Yeah, well, that's it. Exactly. You say
Just got
thanks.
6 minutes of compliments.
That's right. That's
great.
right. Well,
Thanks,
come on.
thumbs up.
It's early in the show. You're going to get more.
Oh, God.
Okay, so get used to it. All right. So, well, like I said, the first half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about Mary, the miracle that is Mary. All right. And then I like doing that when she's trying to drink water. All right. Don't spit water
all over the station.
No, do not do that. In fact, put the bottle on the windowsill behind you. Put that bottle of water on the windowsill behind you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Perfect.
I'm going to I'm going to blow out my shoulder.
All right,
Anyways.
All right. Fine. Anyway, so that's the first half of the show. The second half of the show, we're going to talk about the subject that's near and dear to a lot of people's homes or hearts, not homes, hearts. And that is learning to have empathy for unseen pain. All right. In the little promo video I did, I said, it's really obvious sometimes when you see a broken leg, a broken arm, or anything like that, it's obvious to say, wow, this person needs my attention. They might need help, etc., because I can see it. I can understand it. The other types of pain, the internal pains, the things we go through, is as simple as fear, okay, that leads towards anxiety, maybe, to this incredible trauma that we go through. And we'll touch on a couple of these ailments or diseases, because there's so much of that's going on that you can't see. And all you hear are people saying, this is what I'm feeling, the pain that I'm feeling. And to try to be a comfort to those people is sometimes difficult because we can't see that. And so we're going to try to unwrap that a little bit and look at both sides of that coin. We're going to take a look at what it's like to be the comforting person and trying to do that, as well as being the person who is suffering, and hopefully they have empathy for the people around them, and try to understand that they don't see what is bothering you. Okay, so we'll get into that a little bit, but you're going to see quite an overlap based on what we're going to talk about in the beginning to that part in the second half. So definitely stay tuned for the whole thing. And again, if you miss any part of this because you've got someplace to go, that's too bad. Don't go.
Yeah. Stop what you're doing and just listen.
And just listen.
This is more important.
Right. Pull the car over, park. Okay. All right. But if you do miss any part of the episode, definitely tune into Bacon Bits with Master Happiness anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, Mary, tell us a little bit more, because I love how you started that. What is Mary doing today? You're selling insurance, and you're a dynamo at that. And I think it's a calling to you because of your ability to connect with people. So tell me a little bit what you did before that. What was the origin story of Mary Schwepp? Shep. Shep.
So that's a long story. The condensed Cliff Notes version.
Yeah. Give us the clip. We don't want the minute by minute since you were born.
The Cliff Notes. I moved out young.
Okay.
I've had a lot of jobs. Most of my life, I've had 2 or 3 jobs at any given time, just because that's the nature of what you have to do to pay the bills.
Yes.
But as far as careers go, I spent the majority of my adult career as a mortgage professional.
All right.
And I left that when my husband had a car accident. And then after his car accident, I had gotten sick. And after I got sick and started to get better and went back to work, I ended up in retail because I was allowed to work and I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't even sure I was going to work. So I did retail for a little 7 years.
Just for a little while.
Well, as I started to get better, it ended up being my store, because I can't do something half. I have to go all the way. And that's just where that path led me. And then I didn't want to be retail forever. Retail comes and goes. They open and close stores.
Yep.
And I didn't want to be in a talent pool. So I wanted to get back into something that I was passionate about, which was connecting people.
Okay. Right. Right.
And finding solutions. And I had the opportunity to go back in mortgages, and I had the opportunity to go insurance. And the long story short is I ended up insurance, and here I am, and I couldn't be happier.
That's cool. That's cool. And so I'm going to jump into this a little bit to help people bring the connections together, because people are saying, "Why are you talking to her?" And you're going to talk about empathy for unseen pain. And so you just see this whole type of thing of people who run their own business or work for someone else, trying to switch careers and not finding their inner bacon.
Right.
Okay. That's a pain that goes inside. It's a stress
Sure.
that beats down on us. And I always tell people it's one of these things of don't give up on yourself. Don't settle for a job.
Right.
All right. There are some people who don't settle. Let's say they work on an assembly line, or they're doing what others might call menial tasks. But what they've figured out is they just want to work to earn money to live an incredible life. And they spend their entire life is about outside.
And if they're happy, then who cares?
Yes, exactly. That's
what
I mean.
Some people love it. They like to just check out and do the same thing. They're fine with that. And there's other people that can't. That's what makes the world beautiful, is there are people for all of those different things.
Exactly. And it's like a scene from that show Succession on Apple. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. You just check out, you go to work, and then you come back and you're living completely.
Some people love it.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, if you are working in one of those jobs and you're just feeling like this is not where I'm meant to be, I am meant to be somewhere else. I have this desire inside me and I'm not being heard here. You've got to find that exit. You've got to find a way. And it's not necessarily leaving that company. You've got to see if you can be heard in that company and move to a different place within that company, or find a different company to work for. So find that inner bacon.
So what I've always told people is, if you've asked yourself the question, you know the answer.
Yes.
It's like the adage, if you really want to know how you truly feel about something, flip a coin.
Yeah.
Because when you flip the coin, if you say heads, Marty buys me coffee, tails, he doesn't. When it lands on tails, you're like, well, now I'm sad. Well, now you know the answer. Now you know what you really wanted.
I agree.
But when I tell people, when you ask yourself the question, you know the answer. Do I want to quit my job? Do I want to leave my husband? Do I want to buy a dog? You know the answer. You're looking for justifiable license from somebody else to take that path.
Yep.
So if you say, I don't know if I want, I think that I hate this, or I don't like my job, you're already asking the question. You already know the answer. You're waiting for someone to either give you the easy solution to give you another job, another path, or give you the justification
to
quit.
Yeah, just so you can say, oh, well, that person told me that it wasn't all mine. A lot of people think that.
Or they agree with me.
Right, exactly. So we just need that sometimes. And I think one of the greatest lessons, hopefully this is one of the many lessons you'll learn in today's show, but one of those lessons is stop listening to those other people. Listen to yourself. Just ask yourself, because don't live the life that they want for you. Live the life you want for yourself. Right. Okay. So tell me more about this. You know what? I like this because I like anyone who has had multiple jobs, doing many different things. Okay. I have a brother of mine, Baby Joe, who was only on the show one time. I have to get him on the show, but when Tiffany is here, we used to talk about Baby Joe all the time. Okay. So anyway, kind of in my family, he was my arch enemy in my family. He's my younger brother. I'm number 6 out of 7. He's number 7 out of 7. So he was the true baby of the family, right? So everyone loves Baby Joe. That's what it came down to. But anyway, he's near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite people in the whole world. So I just tease about that. But we talked about different jobs, and he has had jobs where he joined the Air Force. Then in the Air Force, he became military police within the Air Force. Came out of the Air Force and became a letter carrier, a mailman. All right. Stop that, and then became a fireman. Okay. And then has just been a fireman his entire life. So it's like, we always joke, he goes, I only want jobs that give me a uniform. Okay. So I never have to buy clothes. All right. So
hey, that's a thing.
That's right. There you go.
I get to see that.
But then we would sit there and list out, how many jobs have you had? And I would list 20 some jobs. Oh yeah. I remember I had this. Oh yeah, that's right. And I did this. And then he would go, you forgot, you also did this. You did this. And it's not just working at different places. It's also the many different careers you have within a company.
Yep.
The things, it was, I never worked I don't think I've ever actually worked retail. It's
I
really funny.
I had almost every job in the store.
Yeah, I've done worked plenty of things like that. I mean, I set up displays for retail stores. I've done that. I've sold to retail stores, but I never actually worked
I don't recommend
retail.
it.
No, but I always say that my favorite jobs were all my sales jobs where I was started out very young selling in the flea markets, then went to I was a door-to-door salesman for a while. I
See,
was
that sounds god awful.
Oh yeah, I lost a lot of weight.
I love people and I love networking, but that
Yeah,
sounds
no.
absolutely god awful to me.
Telemarketer. That was the one
Okay,
that people
that's even
cringe.
worse. That's
That they
even more
cringe when I
awful.
say that. And I worked at multiple
I did
companies.
that for about 9 days.
No, I did that
I
for
quit.
a long time. In fact, I trained telephone
Wow.
solicitors and worked at multiple companies doing that. I really loved
No.
that.
No, hard pass. But
yeah.
no, I honestly couldn't. I don't know if I could count how many jobs I've had.
Yeah, but I think it's beautiful to. There was somebody, and I'm going to screw up this quote, something awful, that says that if you, at an early age, know exactly what you want out of life and you get it, that's your punishment. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't know and you explore and you have what's considered the creative life,
right,
that's your like miracle or that's your blessing.
I would agree with that because I couldn't. I mean, I might not have loved it every step of the path that I've been on, but sometimes, and I've said this before, sometimes you have to take a wrong turn to find the right path.
Yes.
And the path that you used to be on might not be the path that you're meant to be on now.
Right.
Because as you evolve, as you grow, as you learn, the things that you want now are going to be so much different than the things that you used to want just because of your life experiences.
Yeah.
And how you feel about things, how you feel about people, how you feel about yourself and what you're doing and what you want to accomplish. So, but literally I honestly, from radiant heating cable systems to catering to taking care of horses to, I really couldn't even begin to think how many jobs I've had.
All right. So here I'm going to ask you this one because I love this story. Is what can you remember? What would you say was your first job? And not working for someone in your family, but actually that you had an employer who paid you. What do you think it was? And how old do you think you were?
I was 9.
Nice.
And it was a mass grinding groovy road construction company.
Wait, it was the what?
So
I'm trying to put you on camera while I'm talking. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I highly doubt that they're still in business. And if they are, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And if the company's wrong, but I don't even think that they're still in business. The Mass family was somebody who lived by us. And
okay.
The dad owned a road construction company.
Yeah.
And his daughter and me used to work in their office.
Yeah.
So whatever the ladies in the office could find for us to do, they would get stuffing envelopes.
Nice. Sure.
Like something in the office that 2 9-year-olds could do. When they ran out of stuff for us to do, we would go down in the horse stables and we would help with the horses.
Oh, all right.
So
that was a nice job.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it was shortly thereafter that because back then child labor, who cares? Your parents said you were allowed to do it. Pretty much everybody in McCollum Lake, it was a rite of passage to work at the Cullum Knoll.
Right.
So
nice.
I did that as much as humanly possible.
That's cool. All right. So now I got to tell you, because you'll love this story. I grew up in the city of Chicago.
Okay.
All right. The west side of Humboldt Park.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful Catholic school right around the corner from us. And one day, got to be maybe I'm going to say at the oldest was 5th grade, but it was probably 4th grade, something like that. We come walking out of school, my friends and stuff, and a guy with a station wagon just pulls up, and the whole back of the station wagon, the back seat and the front passenger seat is filled with these little boxes, right?
Boy.
And he rolls down the passenger side window, and he goes, "Any of you kids looking for a job?" And I was like, "But does it pay money?" And he goes, "Yes." And I go, "I am." And I run over to the guy's car. He popped the door open, knocked the stuff off the seat. I climbed into his car. He shut the door, and we drove off. Okay. And I sit here thinking how terrifying that is. Right? Well, I lived in a time that it was like, my mom would be like, "All right, you're going to school, then go play, be home when the street lights come out." Right. So
I could a lady that rang a bell.
Yeah, there you go. So
3 blocks away, you'd hear that bell ring at sunset. We knew it was dinner time in their house, but that meant everybody else had to go home.
So you think about how many states away I could have been, right? But anyway, I wasn't that cute of a kid. Nobody wanted to steal me. All right.
They brought you back.
Exactly. They're like, take him back and here's some money. All right. No, I ended up boxing ionizers for the guy.
Oh wow.
Okay, yeah, it was a guy who was just sit there in his basement.
I just had this
welding
immediate
these things.
vision of Gremlins where he's selling the
Yeah,
guy's store,
exactly.
so he's got the
Right.
little machines.
You sure I can't put water on
Yeah.
this? Right. Yeah.
The
So
little smokeless ashtray
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Oh my
there you go. So that was pretty much it. That guy found me.
That's hilarious.
And I think that was my introduction to being an entrepreneur. Okay, that's all it is. You want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Stop in front of a grammar school,
Right.
and pick up little kids.
Right.
All right. So they have them do the work for you.
Oh my God, that's terrible. That's so
All right.
terrible.
But that was my first real job, and so I survived that one. So I think about that. I have some lucky, guardian angel
Yeah.
on my shoulder watching over me. Okay, probably going, "What an idiot
Yeah.
you are!
Yeah.
Don't get in the car."
No.
Right. So anyway, but it only went up from there. All right. But here was the thing that I've learned throughout the time is I've never shirked from a possibility.
Right.
When somebody said, "Hey, I've got this job. Can you do this?" My whole feeling was, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. Okay.
So now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with networking, but everything to do with.
I know. Here we go. We
I know.
stopped talking about.
We went down the
networking.
rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
I love it. I love it.
We're gonna go for a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have. Do
Yeah.
you remember a time or a moment that you realized your worth?
Ooh, my worth. Wow. You know what? Yes, I do. I do kind of remember this. And I will tell you, it was the first person who kind of like slapped me.
Mhm.
Okay. It was one of my first real, like, let's say, grown-up jobs.
Sure.
Okay. And you'll love it because it was a phone solicitor job. Okay. I was a phone solicitor
Of course.
selling subscriptions, I think, for the Chicago Tribune.
Yeah.
And I worked in this room with a bunch of other people, and I was just trying to work. And one of the things they always did was, as soon as a sale was made, somebody would yell like "sale" or something like that, and they'd ring a bell.
Yeah.
And it was a room of about 20 people, and I'm sitting there plugging away, making phone calls, and you hear the bing, the bell going off, "sale, sale," and I'm hearing this, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything. And then I'd go "sale," I'd get one.
Yeah.
And then you hear "sale, sale, bing, bing, bing," all left, and I get another one. I was like, oh my God, I'm terrible at this, right? And so the manager called me in his office, and he said, "Look, I'm going to have this contest, and we're going to break up the sales room into 2 teams." And he goes, "I want you to be the captain of one team." And I'm like, "You want me? Why am I going to be the captain?"
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, "And then Tony."
Did you hear my 2 dings over
Right,
there?
right. And he goes, "And then Tony is going to be the captain of the other team." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't sell as
Yeah.
much as Tony." Right? And he goes, "And so to make it fair, we're going to give Tony Sheila." And I remember these names exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sheila's better than the 2 of us combined. Are you kidding? How can I possibly win?" And he goes, "Have you ever looked at your sales numbers?" And I was like, "No, why?" And he looked, and I didn't realize I outsold both of them.
That's hilarious.
Okay. And it was just because I heard the ding from 20 people. I was comparing myself to the total of 20
perception.
people. And he was the first guy who said, "Stop comparing yourself to 20 people. Compare yourself to you yesterday."
Yeah.
He goes, "No one sells as quickly and as much as you do."
Fantastic.
And here I'm sitting, these 2 are the best. And they're like, "No, they're like a distant second and third." Okay. And I was like, "Really? Really?" And so
How
it was
about them
amazing.
apples?
It was amazing to go from this, what I call the complacency, to confidence to cocky.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In a
And-
hot second.
Oh yeah. It was very fast. Right. And so you have to learn,
Yeah.
as a good salesperson, you have to learn to pull it back to confidence.
Yep.
Find that middle ground.
I
So
agree.
that was the first time that I can really recall that feeling, that emotional roller coaster that little meeting took, that suddenly I was like, "Oh, wait, I really am that
That's
good?"
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
what about you? What about you, Mary?
Mine, surprisingly, it came very late. Like I've always had the confidence to do things, and I'd never questioned whether or not I could do something. So that was
Okay.
never a question of whatever job or task I was presented with. I was terrified, I was nervous, I was scared. I didn't know if I could do it, but the question of whether or not I could do it
Okay.
never crossed my mind
Gotcha.
in anything I've ever done. But it was when I left to go into insurance,
Okay.
when we were standing there, and I had this moment. We were at an event for a charity, and all of us are standing there. All the general managers are standing there,
Right.
and all of them are, I just got to make it another year. I got to make it 2 years. I got to, they're about to retire. These guys are lifers, and I'm going, I don't want to be in a talent pool when I'm 55 years old doing, whatever. So we finished the day. We gave all the charity, all this money, the kids, great. It was a beautiful day. We had all these warm and fuzzies. We went out to dinner. We go home. So I'm driving back from Hyde Park.
Okay.
Long drive home. The whole way I'm driving home, and it was about halfway home, I'm going, what am I going to do? Like, I know I don't want to do this. I know I got to leave. I love my job. I love the people. I love what I'm doing, but I got to do something different. So it wasn't that I hated it. I mean, I didn't like retail, but I love the people I worked with, and I love my team. And anybody that actually knows me knows that. But as I'm driving, I'm going, that's the thought everybody has.
Right.
I can't not have that income. I can't, I can't find another job just like that to go and do. Am I going to switch careers? I'm not 20.
Right.
And literally, so as I get home and I come walking in the door and I'm telling my husband about it, and he said something. He's like, well, I guess I don't know. What are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to quit my job. And before I could even realize it, the words came out of my mouth, and I literally had this look on my face, and he looks at me, he says, what? And I'm like, I literally looked at him and said, I think I just realized my self-worth.
Nice.
And my husband's looking at me. He's like, what? Because he thinks I'm crazy because he's known me since I was 12. So he's like, how did you just realize this? And that's what he says. I was like, in this moment, I just realized that it doesn't matter what I do.
Right.
Because if I quit my job tomorrow, if I walked in and got fired tomorrow,
right,
I would have a job the next day.
There you go. Sure.
I'm sitting there thinking of all of the times that in my life, whether it was because a business closed, whether it was because I got let go, whether it was like whatever it was.
Right.
I've always done what needed to be done. And it was in that moment. So it wasn't very long ago. I was literally in my own sitting here going, holy crap. And I've had plenty of successes up to that point.
Right. But
standing in the kitchen and my husband. So what did I do? I went into my office the next day, called my boss and said I quit. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he cried. He was so mad. He didn't see it. Nobody saw it coming because I didn't even see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I literally decided the night before after coming home from a huge event. So it was pretty funny.
All right, we're going to take a momentary break to thank those people who do so much for our station here. So just everyone stay tuned because believe it or not, we're actually going to talk about what we said we were going to talk about when we get back. All right, so let's do this.
Flooded vehicles from recent hurricanes will be flooding the used car market, so buyer beware. If you're in the market for a used vehicle, be on the lookout for flood damage and make sure you have a qualified mechanic inspect it before you buy. The free VIN check service from the National Insurance Crime Bureau is a good place to start. Head over to nicb.org to check it out.
To report fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB. This is a public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
And we are back. We're back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm your host, Marty Jalove, and we're on here every Monday night at 7 o'clock for the live episode. And then the recording goes on to the podcast, which is Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, a little later in the week. We'll try to get it up there as quick as possible. So I'm here with my good friend, Mary Shep, who works at Brightway Insurance, but she has done just a plethora of other things that led her to this part in her life. And we're talking about, right now we started talking about networking. We jumped into the jobs we've held and where these jobs have led us. But I think one of the things that is a feature or a repeating tone in what we've been saying here, Mary, is this idea that we've had that never say die attitude.
Right.
There's been plenty of obstacles that have come our way. We've dipped our toes into plenty of different pools. When I think of the many different careers that I've had, one of the coolest things was that even my business, Master Happiness, I said, I'm going to start a business coaching companies how to bring happiness back in, right? And somebody was like, I don't think there's one of those. I'm like, I'm sure there's somewhere there's one of those, but for this area, I'm making one up, right? And it's amazing because it's needed, and the people that I'm helping absolutely just love the fact that I'm helping them, and we see some greatness coming out of it. And so I just really believe that there's that's ability out there. If you can't find what you're doing right now, if you're not happy with what you're at, see if you can change it.
I agree.
Okay, there's very few times that you can't change it.
I agree.
So getting back to this thing about this fear, let's say, of moving on or doing something different. Like you said, I'm getting older. I say, I almost said screw that. I think I can say screw that on FCC. I think that's okay. All right. So
you'll be good.
Anyway,
ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's nothing to the end of any age. I think that every age you are at is just a number, and so you can still offer something. And I always look at this whole thing. There's a lot of external things that stop us from doing something, but the internal things always come down to three things. And it is fear, ability, and desire. All right. And that's what it really comes down to. There are certain things that I cannot do. I do not have the ability to do that. I could ride a horse. I've ridden a horse. I don't want to ride horses anymore. Okay. But I could ride a horse. The chances of me winning the Kentucky Derby are really, really slim. So I'm going to say that's the not ability.
Yeah.
I always joke I have a better chance being the horse in the Kentucky Derby than being the jockey.
I'm about the same.
Right? So that's the ability. The desire, if I really want to do something, I have learned now, if I really want to do something, if I really want to do it, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
Okay. There's nothing going to stop me. If I realize I don't have the ability to do this, I'm going to face that fact. Sometimes it's sad, but sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? I tried.
You also
right.
got to be realistic.
Exactly. The thing that is the worst is when I'm afraid to try something that I really want to do.
Yeah.
And then what I say is, oh, I don't have the ability to do that. I'm afraid to face my fear. I don't have the ability to do that. Or I really didn't want to do that. I lie about the desire. And I think that's the thing that we cheat ourselves out of. And so if there's something you really want to do, whether it's changing your job, whether it's skydiving or whatever, if you really want to do it, if you really desire doing that, come up with a way to beat that fear.
Right. I agree.
Okay. All right. So Mary, that was my my little commercial, my own. Let's get to this big point. The reason we got here together was we wanted to talk, or I wanted to talk a little bit about learning to empathize for unseen pain. All right. And as you know, Mary, we always apply a little bacon to what we're talking about because bacon is so darn tasty. And, for those of you out there, if you, another reason to know Mary, Mary's my bacon connection. Right. She gets me the best.
Like
bacon.
actual bacon. The actual bacon.
The bacon for chewing.
Not the philosophical bacon.
No, she gets me the bacon for chewing. And it's really by far the best bacon I've had. And I've had really good bacon. So thank you, Mary.
Wow.
So anyway, what we're talking about now on the show is not the bacon for chewing. We're talking about
bacon
for doing.
Bits.
Come on, it's the bacon for doing, Mary. Oh my gosh.
For calling me Schwepp.
There you go. All right. Sorry there.
That's
all
right.
right. So I'll call you Skep now.
No.
Anyway, yes, it's the bacon for doing. So we use the acronym BACON. So these are 5 important thoughts to remember about how we can become how we can more empathize with people with this pain that we can't see. So the B is obviously to be present, stay in the moment, and be with those people. 2 is ask questions, try to understand. C is compassion first. Always think about how can I help these people before I can judge them. O is observe closely. Sometimes look for these subtle signs because maybe these people won't open up to you anyway. And then obviously N is going to be nurture bonds. If these people are close to you and they're hurting on the inside, you want to be there for them. You want to be part of that support team. All right. In whatever role you're in. So Mary, what's your initial reaction to this whole thing when I told you we're going to be talking about empathy for unseen pain?
Immediately it was physical or emotional or both.
Yes. Yes, both.
That was the thought that went through
Yeah.
my head, is physical or emotional.
Oh, okay.
because-
I thought you wanted me to answer that.
no,
but
no,
all right.
but that
Yeah.
was what my thought was is which one are you wanting to discuss? Because obviously there's two sides to that coin.
Yes.
And when you talking about networking and the things that we've been through and the things in our business, the irony is everybody that knows me now
Yeah.
sees me as the person who talks to everybody, goes to all these networking events, is
Right.
part of, the Rotary, is part of the farmers market, is part of all of these groups and organizations, and is out in the community a lot and has
Okay.
been for a long time. That is not who I used to be. I was the shy kid that was terrified, that found every excuse to stay home, not go to school because you had to do the 90 seconds in science class about one of the elements on the
Okay.
table.
Right.
Not even speech class.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You
You just have to last 90 seconds shaking a paper
Okay.
in 6th grade, talking in front of your 26 peers
Right.
about an element, and I couldn't do it.
And that was the thing.
And
Yeah.
it was me and one other girl. And she literally, like, the teacher forced us both to do it. She passed out and puked, and I was like, all right, well, I mean, I know I'm not going to do that. Came close, but I'm not going to do
Right,
that.
right.
So, but like, I had to learn. I had a life of experiences to become the person that I was, to network, to do that. So the emotional anxiety and the things that would hold me back in the past, that I had to work through to get it. So I have come a long way to be able to be that person that can talk to people freely and not have any anxiety over those things now. But it's given me a perspective to understand other people, because you can try as hard as you want to put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Okay.
So you
Right.
picture two people that have, that are pregnant. They're
Okay.
both pregnant.
Right.
You would think that they both can empathize with each other, and they can to an extent, but it's still going to be relative to their own situation, their own body, their own pain tolerance, their own everything. So it's still going to be two totally different experiences. But having felt what a panic attack is like, and as somebody who, those that know me, I, not the emotional girly girl, whatever, it is debilitating when something so simple as taking the next step, and no matter how hard you tell your brain to make that movement, to push
Sure.
you are just frozen in time. So then it amplifies because you're angry at yourself,
Right.
because you can't take that step, because it's something so simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So simple. Like, if you were scared to come into this radio station right now,
And
you
there are-
physically couldn't
right,
walk through that
right,
door.
Right.
And somebody else is looking at you like, oh my God, this is the stupidest thing ever. Just walk.
Right.
And they get angry and they get frustrated, and you have no idea the mental turmoil. It's like that movie Saw,
Okay.
where they, like,
Right.
you need to put your arm through a bin of syringes to get the key at the bottom. And
Yeah.
that's what it's like. Like, it is, you can't imagine the power of someone's brain
Right.
when
Right.
it comes to those things. So, like, with networking, the most difficult thing somebody can do is walk up and say, hey, my name is Mary. Who are you and what do you do?
Right. Isn't that
That's
funny?
it. Like,
Isn't that funny?
you want to talk about networking? That's networking. You
Yes.
go and you walk into a room full of people you've never met
Mhm.
and say, my name is Mary. Who are you and what do you do? And to get those words out of your mouth is surprisingly difficult.
For so many people.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was one of those people for the longest time where I could network. I could, you group with your people that you know,
Right.
all the little peoples
Yeah.
in the corner. You don't go and talk to anybody else. But that's where that emotional, it's one of the more difficult things to empathize with, because there's no way that you could know. And most people
Yes.
aren't going to tell anybody, even their closest confidants, their spouse, their partners, their best friends, that they have those things. So
So I want to ask you this, because
Yeah.
I love where you're going with this. Why do you think this is, that when it's something that's inside us, something that is this invisible illness, all right, or hidden disability, that we're afraid to tell someone? But if I'm bleeding, I'll go, anybody here have a
Yeah.
Band-Aid?
Right.
I'm going to shout to the
Right.
world,
Right.
right? If I'm cut, if I break my leg, I'm going to say, please, someone come help me. But as soon as it's hidden away, as soon as it's something inside, whether it's anxiety, whether it is Lyme disease, whether, whatever it is, why is it that certain things we are afraid to bring up? do you think it leans a lot towards we think people won't believe us? Do you believe that it's sometimes we second guess ourselves? Okay.
I think, I honestly think that it's because people feel alone.
Okay.
It's, it's like the kids' book, everybody poops.
Okay. Sure.
Everybody picks their nose,
That's
everybody poops,
that's a
everybody
kid's
puts,
book?
right, it is. Teach your kid to go to the bathroom.
Right.
It's potty training.
I thought it was an adult book.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all I'm saying.
it could. Well,
Right.
some
Anyway.
circles maybe. That's a different show.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a different station.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
So but people think that they're alone. They think they're the only one that have this issue. And
Because they can't see
right,
it.
you can't,
That makes a lot of sense.
you don't see someone's depression. You don't see their anxiety. The amount of people from a physical side that have told me that even now, after having my own podcast for 4
Right.
years talking about it, and people are like, I never knew that you were sick.
Right. Right.
Like you don't look sick.
Right.
Like
right.
I
Exactly. Isn't that always the
I'm
first
actually
one?
pretty sick.
Yeah.
but it's
That's
like,
the first answer.
right,
You don't look sick.
right,
You
don't
look fine.
sick. Or people would tell me like, "Oh, I'm so glad you got better." And
Nice.
most of the time, I don't want to deal with it. So I'm like, "Yeah, thanks. That's great." Like, but that's the thing is people can't see it, so they don't. It's not. It's easy to see car accidents and cuts, and so you've seen people bleed, you've seen people get hurt, you've seen people with a black eye, so you can go, you know what? I don't, Marty. What did you do when you had a black eye? You're gonna automatically assume that somebody else has been through it because it's
Right.
visible.
Yes.
But all of your life, how many times have you firsthand been to a therapy center with somebody in a psychotic break?
Right. None.
So I've
Okay.
seen that. And not only on my own experiences of what I've been through, but if you go to like a memory care facility for seniors or an institution that does have people who are under therapy, things like that, when you physically see those things, it might give you a better perspective, but it's because you never see those things. So you assume that you're 1 in a million or 1 in 5.
Right. Right.
I'm not going to tell you about it because what are the chances that Marty also has anxiety?
Correct.
I would have tell like you do your stuff. I see you all over.
Right.
You're not going to relate.
Right. And you know what? It's also interesting because I think you go along with this. I think that point you make is perfect. Is if it's bugging me and I look around, and I go, I don't see anyone else who has this. I've never seen anyone else who has had this. It's really hard for me to speak up and say this is what's wrong with me.
Right.
And so it's the exact same thing of when I think this is the part I want to touch on first is so if there is something inside you that is wrong, you also have to understand that the people you're talking to have also never seen this.
Correct.
They've never experienced this. They don't know how to empathize with you.
Correct.
They and people who care for you are going to, I don't know, try to understand, but it's like, wow, just show me something. Show me a wound, show me a scar so I can kind of understand it more. You're explaining it. And I'll tell you, one of the toughest things is when they explain something that's bugging them. And in my mind, okay, or in some other people's minds going, well, why don't you just stop doing that?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because I can't see anything. If I have a broken leg, I can't go, well, why don't you just walk on it? It'll walk it off.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I can't say that. Right.
Right.
And so these other things, because I can't see it, I'm like, I don't understand it.
So I found the easiest thing to say when
Is?
that is that must be very difficult.
Yeah.
You don't say anything. You don't try to empathize. You don't have to do anything. It's no different. Like my husband and I have been through a lot of death in our life. So we handle it differently than a lot of people. And we're not the sob and bawl our eyes out and whatever. So when someone like we don't know what to say. And my husband had that same thing when a good friend of ours had passed and we were at services or whatever. And he's like, I hate this. Like, I get it, but you're a pallbearer. You got to be there.
Yeah.
So and I told him this, the easiest thing for you to just tell people is that has to be really difficult for you.
Right.
Because that's all anybody wants to hear. They don't want to hear your side of the story. They don't want to hear like, oh, I know how that feels because I lost my bird once.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And that's not, and I don't think that's real empathy anyway.
No.
Saying, oh yeah, I understand how you feel.
Right.
That leans more towards sympathy.
Right.
Empathy is saying you have something that I can't understand. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to sit next to you with you to when you're ready to get
Right.
better. Okay. And I think that's the big thing. I look at that and I think people like us, Mary, who are always saying, I can do that.
Sure.
Okay. Why am I going to say no to that? I think it's even more difficult for people like us to empathize with somebody who says, I can't do that because of this hidden pain that you can't see.
Right.
Both of us could understand, like you explained, somebody who came to this door and says, I can't walk in that
Right.
room. I'm petrified. And I'd be like, what are you petrified of?
It's just a door. Walk through the door.
Both of us can understand this
Right.
because we can say there was a time I would have been scared to walk through that door too. But that was a long time ago.
Right.
And I'm like, I've already beat that. It's not that difficult. Walk in, come on in.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I can't. And it would be difficult for me to see that. And that's something that I can connect to. Now you give me something that I have no connection to.
Sure.
It's so difficult. So I like the idea that you're saying that the simple idea, this must be very difficult for you. And I want to follow it up with, do you want me to sit here with you? Or something to that effect.
You want me to leave? You want me to stay?
Yeah.
You tell me what you need. And ultimately, as someone who, like, I want people to know, but I also don't want people to know.
Sure.
So when it comes to everything that I've been through, that is the hardest part, because everybody wants someone to understand how they feel.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just human nature for me to want somebody on this planet to understand what I'm going through. And unfortunately, there is nobody on this planet that's going to understand what I'm going through.
Right.
The chances of me finding somebody who has transverse myelitis and cirrhosis and can understand, and not only that, transverse myelitis can be nothing and it can go away.
Okay.
And 80% of people who have it are paralyzed.
Wow.
So me being able to relate to the next person that has it is slim. But at the same time, that's what you want. You want so bad. So when someone says like, oh, it's not that bad. I had a friend once tell me, because of the way I walk up steps, she's like, you just need to push through it and walk up steps. I can't. My nerve doesn't physically listen. There's a disconnect in the nerve damage. But of course, you muscle through it and you just shrug people off. But in your mind, you want so bad to your core for someone, like, I want to wrap you in K-tape and put a beach ball between your thighs, and I want to put weights on your ankles, and I want to paint you up so you can somehow, and I'm going to put Velcro around the side so it scratches on your rib cage.
Yeah.
I want to do all these things so you can physically feel like I am, and then tell your go walk upstairs.
Right.
But you step back and go, okay, you know what? At the same time, I don't want that, because I don't want you to look at me with sympathy.
Right. I love that. And I think it goes, this is this flip side of how you have to deal with it.
Right.
Okay. And you have to understand that I'm a person, I can't see what you're going through. I've never experienced what you're going through. I can't fathom what you're going through. The only things that I can connect it to in any small way, I've powered through because they weren't the thing you went through.
Right.
Okay. And I think the strongest things is just that, is if I'm the one hurting like that, I have to go out of my way to see these are people around me who don't understand. They'll never truly understand. And like you said, even if you found someone with the same ailments, they might have a different pain tolerance than you. So you'll never know if anyone feels the way you do. Right. And so the best you can do is, if you've got that internal pain, is to tell those people who you care for, tell the people that mean something to you, all I need from you to do is to say, this must be very difficult.
Right.
Do you want me to sit here with you?
And that's like all of the people close to me, that's exactly what they've learned, is to, like, they know what I can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And it's the absolute best, because it's the best of both worlds. It's the happiest medium that I'm going to possibly get for that.
Okay.
But it really is that moment of where, that it must be difficult.
Right.
Because the flip side of that is, when you care about helping other people to the extent that someone like you and I care about helping other people, and care about connecting people and helping and bring those connections together, the worst thing that can happen is if somebody else is in pain or discomfort or sadness because of your action.
Right.
So when you're sitting there almost in tears because you go, oh my God, Mary, I didn't know you were going through so much.
Yeah.
Well, that must be very difficult for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so
I don't know what
sorry.
to say to
I'm
you for that.
so-
Like I'm
so sorry I put you
now
through
I
that.
feel
Right,
now
right.
I feel
Yeah,
like garbage
yeah,
because I
exactly.
don't
Right.
want to sit here and watch you cry over
No. That's
my
it. You know what?
I
I
can't
love
do anything about
I
it.
love that point because a lot of people are going to hear those words you just said.
Yeah.
Where I would go, "Oh my God, Mary, I
Yeah.
had no idea that you were going through that." And that sounds like I care about you, but
Right.
when in reality, what I'm saying is, "Oh my God, look at poor me.
Yeah.
Poor me. I didn't know you were going
Yeah.
through that. Oh my God, somebody get me something cool to drink."
You didn't
Okay,
know because
yeah,
I didn't tell you.
right.
But now something came up
Yeah.
where I had like it was easier to not tell you the entire time.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're going, well, why? What do you? Okay, so for me, one of the things is sunshine, sitting in the sun.
Okay.
So in networking, how often do you go to lunch? You go somewhere else, and
Oh, yeah.
people like, well, it's a beautiful day outside. Let's go sit in the sun.
Right.
I can't do that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And everybody
Sure.
looks at me. I'm like, well, I'm not pasty Irish girl for nothing.
Yeah.
It like that's not the reason. If I sit in the sun, it's a long story, but I can't. I physically can't. So then it's out in the open. Then I got to tell somebody about it, and then that's where it happens. Oh my God, I didn't know you were going.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
everybody gets all sad. And it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but people don't want to hear your story. They want
No.
someone to relate to, and they want a quick fix.
Right. I'm agreeing with you there.
Yeah.
I think that we as humans also have to do this other thing. And that is we're surrounded by the world. We have acquaintances and friends, but those people that we care for, those people that we want to make a connection,
Sure.
a stronger connection to, I do think we still have to reach out to those people and say, and this is that is observe closely.
Yeah.
Is a look and say, hey, you don't look like yourself today. You seem a little off.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Right.
And if they say everything's fine, I don't want to talk about it, maybe that's the end of it. Just shut up.
Yeah.
And then say, hey, if you ever need to talk about it, I'm here for you. But don't leave it like that.
Right.
I say it's up to us to follow through with people.
Right.
Hey, I saw you the other day. Are you doing better? Because you were
Yeah.
a little off that day. Are you doing better? And you got to follow up with them because sometimes their fear, they don't know how to start that conversation. All right. I think it's really important for us to do that as opposed to go the easy way and just ignore it. Well, if she ain't saying anything, then I ain't going to ask her about it. Okay. It's just so much easier for me not to deal with
Right.
it. Okay.
Right.
And I think it's better. It's a more wonderful thing to do as a human is to say, hey, I'll just sit with you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it. And if you need to say something, if you want to say something, I'm ears for you, but you don't have to.
Right.
Okay. Because I can't do anything possibly to fix what you're going through. And I
Right.
can't possibly understand what you're going through. So I'm just going to be there in your
I agree.
vicinity. Okay.
I agree.
And the flip side, I'm going to give you this. I want you to read through at least the topics here, because I wanted to go through and try to get a list of what I was looking at was like what I'm going to consider like invisible illnesses, these hidden disabilities.
Sure.
And I want you to read just the topics, not all of them. Can you read that? Okay. Because you okay there?
Well,
you
yeah.
forgot your glasses. Because
That's another part
yeah,
of my thing.
all right. So, because I looked at this and I think it was really interesting because the idea I had in my head of when you were saying, are you talking physical or mental? And I was like, well, I'm kind of saying all of it. And then I did this like a quick search and I started doing this. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's so many things that go on this list. And this doesn't even touch everything. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Mary, just like quickly read through it. And I'm giving it to you because you're probably better off pronouncing some of these things than I am.
Right. Fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, which MS is probably the closest thing to explaining what I have with transverse myelitis.
Wow.
MS happens a lot of times. Transverse myelitis happens one time.
Okay.
So that's what happened. I have a lesion on my spine. Chronic migraines. I used to have those. Thanks to my acupuncturist, I don't have those anymore. Epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, Lyme disease, long COVID, Epstein-Barr, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, which I'm actually currently being tested for.
Awesome.
Celiac. That's everybody who has gluten issues. And there's a big difference between a gluten allergy and actual having celiac. I don't know this other one.
That's right. Skip it.
We'll skip that one.
Yeah.
Chronic fatigue syndrome, complex regional pain syndrome, myofascial pain syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndrome, gastroparesis, depression, anxiety, bipolar, eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, food aversion, I think is another one.
Okay.
Schizoaffective disorder. That's a new one for me. I haven't heard of that one. Autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit disorder, dyslexia and learning abilities, tinnitus. Wow, you really gave me a list here.
I know. Yeah. They're hard to say, some of them.
Oh, Ehlers-Danlos. My sister has been researching this to try and find out if we have the genetic marker for Ehlers-Danlos. It's a connective tissue issue. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes, hypoglycemia, endometriosis. That is another common one that a lot of people don't know. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, insomnia, sleep apnea, narcolepsy,
And the list goes on and on, right?
cirrhosis,
Yeah.
kidney failure, liver disease.
I don't even think you got into anxiety and depression.
Yeah, it's on there.
But all right, I didn't hear you say those. Maybe you went through quick.
Yeah, depression, anxiety, bipolar, eating disorders,
Oh,
schizophrenia.
okay. All right. So anyway, look, we're like out of time. But anyway, so I just want to say
rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. We chased the wrong rabbit today.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that just that list that Mary read was just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so many things. And the reason I wanted you to read through that is just to let the listeners realize how much there is out there. We just think, it's all in your head. Okay, it's not. It's there are certain things like that. And I love how we the consensus here, how we are ending this is just that. The best thing that I can do is just say, reach out to the people I know. This Bacon, the O is observe closely. I'm going to be present. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to be compassionate about what's wrong with you. I'm going to observe closely, and I'm going to nurture our bonds. Mm-hmm. And so that all comes down to me saying, look, you seem a little off. If you want to talk about it, we can talk. If not, it's okay. Do you want me to just sit here with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Just something simple like that. And then follow up with the person. Okay. Because sometimes they just need someone to show that they care.
And remember that everybody has a story.
Yes.
And everything is relative. So if you lived your life, and I mean, God bless you if you haven't had very many hardships.
Right.
That's great. But that doesn't mean that the first time you stub your toe, that could be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. It could be horrible. So for you, it's the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yes.
For somebody like me who's been through more things in my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that my experiences are any worse or better or easier or more difficult to deal with. They're relative to my life. But that means that everybody has a story and everybody has a perspective. So unless you're going to take the initiative to get the why behind their perspective, you can't begin to think what they go through unless you actually ask.
Like it. All right. So Mary, thank you so very much. We are officially out of time. I would ask you what you got out of the show, but I'm sure you got a whole lot. Yeah, excellent. So
and some bacon.
We'll have you back on the show. And next time you better bring me some bacon. All right. I think that we should just have that as a set right here. All right. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. Trust me, this is a show worth listening to on Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, wherever you listen to podcasts. Tune in next week, Monday, the same station. And we are going to be talking to my boys. We're going to get back to talking about sales. So tune in. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. I'm going to say goodbye right now as soon as I turn this thing off. Just let me keep going here. And